Welcome to another episode of the Bloomers Podcast. My name is Amr. The Bloomers Podcast is a channel where we talk about mental health, life, just have fun conversations and just have open dialogue about topics. And today is this episode about mental health, men's mental health, and toxic masculinity. Two sort of hot, controversial topics. But before I get into that, I'm in a new setup now. I am now out of my old setup. I will be in this new house. I'm currently alone. I might be getting air tags stocked right now. So that's why I have bear spray with me. Just because, I'm alone in a house, living alone. Air tag is apparently following me. So, I located it and everything, but I need to make sure that nothing happens. So yeah. Whoever messes with me is going to have problems. But yeah, I'm home alone, so I can make as much noise as I want. In my other videos, I'm always talking quiet and stuff. But yeah. So, like I said, this video is about toxic masculinity and men's mental health, how they both kind of correlate with each other. I did make a video on masculinity and sort of gender last year. That was pretty controversial. I got a lot of negative comments. It obviously didn't bother me though. I got people insulting me and stuff, but hey, they're giving me the attention and I don't know. I kind of just laughed it off. It was fun. It was fun to talk about. I was really questioning, society and what people have done and how my parents raised me, which they raised me with, very fluid, not fluid. What do you call it? They didn't really have the gender roles. It was really positive, and I feel like that influenced me a lot. But yeah, I think to start things off, what does it mean to be masculine? That's a question that I've asked before on this channel. And the thing is that when something like this is so, it's really it's different from person to person, right? So I'm going to have my own different version. You're going to have your own different version. And because this is such a different thing, I really feel like there is no definition in society at large. I feel like if a group of people come together and they say, okay, this is this book, this idea, this person has an idea, and they all agree that is the definition, then we have a consensus, and that can be the definition. But my definition is entirely to do with how men treat women. That's my definition, right? Because I don't believe that your gender determines how you should act, a gender or sex or whatever people want to call it. I don't think there's much of a correlation there. I think to the extent that I believe it's that a mother obviously births a child and breastfeeds a child, and over the weekend I was helping my best friend move, and my sister was also there, and I think that as a man I would not want my sister to do the same amount of work as me. That's because I'm stronger, I'm able to do more than she can with my body. So whoa, what is her thud? In aspects like that, I think that there is a way in which men and women should behave differently. Just those aspects. It's very small. On a larger scale, I don't believe that we should be promoting that idea. Because in my last video I did something as well where I was like, well, what do men have to protect women from? I stutter, if you don't know already. That's why I paused there. So yeah, what do they have to protect them from? And I got a comment, and it was like taxes, right? Like what? It's unbelievable to me how people genuinely think like that. But see, that's the problem, is that we have parents who are failing to teach their sons about how to treat women correctly. That was basically the sum of my entire last video. All right. So toxic masculinity. I actually had to go research this myself because it's a term that gets thrown around a lot. And I really never knew what it meant until last week when I actually did my research and like looked it up. So according to webmd.com, I'll put in all the links to the stuff I got my information from, but toxic masculinity is an attitude or set of social guidelines stereotypically associated with manliness that often have a negative impact on men, women, and society in general. So that is a real thing, and I know people read this and like, oh, that's bullshit, like this isn't real, toxic masculinity doesn't exist. But I used to be in that circle, all right? When I was 13, 14, I was really, like on that right wing stuff. I really don't like politics anymore. I'm neutral. Like I just want peace, and I want to pay less money. I mean, that's really just what it comes down to. But I used to be in that camp of, feminists suck and men rule, all that stuff, until I kind of grew up and I realized how much women meant to me and all that. But this is a real thing, okay? This is not like something we made up. But I know, I also think that society has become really, really sensitive. And I'm not really a fan of that. I really like, I don't appreciate, when people are harmed by free speech and whatnot. But I do think that it's important that no matter what your opinion is, in a civilized society, you have an ability to express yourself in whatever way it is, as long as it's civil and it's not, harming people. So, don't really know where I was going with that, but there's this thing called the man box. All right, this is like a concept that I don't know who created it, but it's just some concept in psychology where it kind of tells you how people think men should act in society. And it goes like this. It's like, men cannot show emotion, cannot show weakness, cannot be vulnerable, cannot depend financially on others, cannot lose. And just those things that you kind of heard or at least me, I heard as a kid, and these things that are just straight up wrong, man. Like, and here I'll go into I actually thought this was really, really interesting. This is also webmd.com. They're kind of, it's like under their health and sex guide. I'm guessing it's like a doctor who wrote this, but I'll just go through some of this stuff because it's kind of interesting. So it says that toxic masculinity is nuanced, but there are a couple behaviors that are often caused by it. So toxic masculinity teaches that being gay is a deviation from being masculine, and obviously homophobia arises from that, which again, like I said earlier, I just want peace in the world, man. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Whatever the hell you're doing, that's your own business. So I don't know. I don't think that. And I have been, even in my comments, man, I had like people in my DMs, I had people calling me like a femboy and calling me gay for literally just saying that. Why, like, questioning gender roles? I mean, what is so crazy about that? Like, it's just, it's not something that we shouldn't always just accept everything and keep going, right? Like, we should question things, man. Need for control. Toxic masculinity encourages men to assert their power and dominance. That is a real thing. You see that Andrew Tate stuff, man. And then in the minds of young men, you have entitlement and all this stuff placed in where they think that they're entitled to have a relationship, and when they approach a girl, it's going to be like, oh, I get all that respect and just for being a man, like you're entitled to that stuff. Which, not gonna lie, I've fallen for in the past, but as you go out in life and you mature, you learn that these things are wrong. Promiscuity, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's like toxic masculinity praises men for having multiple sexual partners and express disgust at women who do the same. That is, dude, this is one of the biggest double standards that men put towards women. and this is so real. Like, trust me, I have heard conversations. I have been parts of conversations where there are people saying that, oh, it's okay if, a man has sex with multiple women, and then a girl is a whore if she does the same. And I'm sorry for the harsh language. I don't like using language like that. But these are the narratives that come out of this stuff, and it's totally unacceptable. It's either all okay or none of it's okay. That's how I view it. It's black and white with this topic, right? Damn it, they refreshed the page. And yeah, toxic masculinity rejects roles associated with women's work. So cleaning the house, household duties, taking care of children. Dude, I want to be such a present father. I think that's one of the most beautiful relationships, a parent and a child. And like, again, coming from like a personal space, my dad was very involved in my care as a child. He is a dad who cooks, and it's not just my mom doing it. It's like some days we'll have my dad cooking, some days we'll have my mom. When my mom, went on vacation 1 month last year, my dad made every single meal for a month, and it was fire. Like, it's cool. And I think that in relationships, especially, when one thing is like, for example, I want someone who prays 5 times a day because I follow Islam, because I do that. So it's fair for me to expect that out of my partner, right? So in the same way, with stuff like cooking and taking care of kids, I have the same expectation out of my partner. But obviously, like, men can't breastfeed, like I said earlier. Like that's a one-time exception that, like, is different. Or like, I wouldn't expect my partner to be able to, I wouldn't want them to lift a couch with me that's like super heavy if there's a guy there who could do it with me, right? It's those minimum differences. But on a larger scale, like, bro, I want to learn how to cook. I mean, I know how to cook breakfast, but like, I don't know how to cook dinner and stuff. They also mention on here violence. So yeah, toxic masculinity encourages violence and aggression for men to assert their dominance and masculinity. According to the Man Box report, it found that 23% of US men believe that if needed, men should use violence to get respect. And look, again, I literally, as a Muslim, I believe in peace. I believe that, violence, there's no problem in the world that violence doesn't make worse. Violence doesn't make things better. I know people say like, oh, violence is a means to achieve peace. No, I don't believe in that. I know that's very ideal and it's not very realistic, but I will never ever support violence unless it's dire, someone's about to die in public or something. But I actually think that this whole thing of like, suppressing emotions for men, I actually believe that is a big contributor to crime. Now, on a really small scale, I know this is such a weird thing to say, but when I grew up, and my parents, they're not born in Canada. They weren't raised in a society where you could really, really question, things like that. I'm blessed and privileged to be able to think freely and to do that. But, would they really like had the mentality that, boys don't cry. And I remember hearing that as a kid. And, I think that I remember times where I was literally feeling like, clenching your fists. That's like a response to stress and anger. Like, it was really, I just felt like being violent and stuff because, this is what happens. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy or whatever, where it's like toxic masculinity promotes men to be like aggressive and yell and stuff, right? So I was thinking about it. I'm like, okay, well, if they really believe in the red pill influencers, they really believe in nice guys finish last. And, why would they think that? They would think it because they're being aggressive towards women. And then when they get that response of like, we don't like that, it's like, okay, now I have even more reason to be mad because you don't want me the way that I want to be, which is following these ideas that are just wrong, right? Crying, is a big part of this problem as well. I feel like there's always been this notion in society that you should be feeling good all the time about yourself. And in moments where you're crying and you're emotional, people are always telling you like, oh, no, don't, stop crying, it's okay. But I feel like, a healthier approach is to feel comfort and discomfort instead of feeling good. Now, and I mean, we can find comfort in sadness and loss and grief, and we don't always have to neglect it and push it away. When we can let our emotions out, and we can also find comfort in good moments and really enjoy good times, but at the same time feel discomfort in the sense that we should be putting ourselves in positions where we can grow, because that's discomfort and success cannot or have to be associated with each other. And I really think that toxic masculinity has been a big factor in perpetuating that notion of feeling good, when I don't think it's the healthiest approach. And I think that when you feel comfort and discomfort, you approach life that way, you're going to see everything as a growth opportunity, and you're going to see, crying as a way to, get back to a position, or, you can feel comfort in crying instead of just neglecting it and pushing it away. And every time you cry, it's like, I have to stop, when it is a natural human response to sadness, grief, loss, bad things in life, and it shouldn't be neglected. And we should. I don't know why there's always been this thing of like, you shouldn't watch your dad cry, or you should never see your dad cry. I feel like I have a lot of respect for people who are open about crying and this behavior that we just filtered as something that's wrong and or not wrong, but like negative, when it's really something that is positive. And when you're crying, it's like that is the worst, like the worst, lowest state, right? And then it's like you can only go up. So it's like when you're done crying, you get all that emotion out of you, you're back up, right? There's always that hope that's there after you cry. It's not like you're just, you're done and you're there. You feel hope after crying, and that's why it's not good to store, feelings and emotions in. It's important to express them out, because that's when the walls, start closing in and you start falling apart. And damn, should I should I make a song or something? My God. No, I'm kidding. I really grew up around like people who were like-minded and from the same place. So like my school is where my friend group came from. We're all, we grew up in good neighborhoods. We had both parents around. We had, our parents were willing to spend money on us. We had cars. And I feel like it's important, just as a human being, and this isn't even related to masculinity or anything, but just as a human being, to not fall victim to the confirmation bias and like be in a chamber of the same voices bouncing off the walls, So my friend group, right? It's easy to fall within the same like-minded people and only hear what they hear and stuff. So I started to like notice that like, oh, like I don't have a friend who came from like the inner city of my city, or like grew up. We all grew up on the outskirts of the city, right? So I just came back from a trip, and when I was doing my Ubers and stuff, I was always talking with the Uber drivers about their life, and it was really cool to see that like all of them came from, a slum or an impoverished place, and they were saying like, oh, like we didn't even, have Pepsi when we were kids, and we didn't even have like colored TV, or you know, we didn't know this thing existed. And it was just like, that was a moment for me where I'm just thinking like, can you imagine being those like red pill people, and just, you are such a big influencer, and you have millions of people who are telling you the right things, telling you what you want to hear. And it's like, again, it's a cycle. You know, the influencer hears what they have to say, and it's all, you know, yo, you're the alpha, yo, you're the best. And then it's like coming back up. So yeah, I really think it's important to question that, and not just hear what you want to hear. If you have your mortal enemy, bro, like, ask them, yo, let's go get a coffee or something, and then learn from them. I mean, my mortal enemy, yo, if you're watching, please hit me up. I seriously want to learn and improve about myself. I'm not even kidding. Like, genuinely, if you're out there, message me. Let's talk or something, or come on the podcast. That would be really fun. I mean that. Yeah, just learn to be comfort. Sorry. Learn to have comfort in sadness. I think that's a really big lesson. That's kind of the thing I wanted to preach the most here, is like, being comfortable in a place of sadness is a really good feeling. And it's not always something that you just neglect and push away. And just don't always try to feel good all the time. You know, it's better, and it's healthier to try to feel comfort and discomfort. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. This was kind of a different episode. I literally made this within the last week. I had like maybe 2-3 hours of like prep, besides what goes on in my head. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. And yeah, I really want to work harder this summer and have more content out. So I'm going to try my best to do that. And more guest episodes on the way. If you're interested, just let me know. But yeah, take care. Drop a like on the video if you want. Hopefully I could earn your sub and your like. And yeah, take care. Thanks.